The mycelium in the right conditions produces a mushroom. It bursts through with such ferocity it can break asphalt. We were involved in several experiments. I'm going to show you 6, if I can, solutions for helping to save the world. Battelle Laboratories and I joined up in Bellingham, Washington. There were 4 piles saturated with diesel and other petroleum waste. One was a control pile. One pile was treated with enzymes. One pile was treated with bacteria, and our pile we inoculated with mushroom mycelium. The mycelium absorbs the oil. The mycelium is producing enzymes, peroxidases, that break carbon-hydrogen bonds. These are the same bonds that hold hydrocarbons together. So the mycelium becomes saturated with the oil, and then when we return 6 weeks later, all the tarps were removed, all the other piles were dead, dark, and stinky. We came back to our pile, it was covered with hundreds of pounds of oyster mushrooms, and the color changed to a light form. The enzymes remanufactured the hydrocarbons into carbohydrates, fungal sugars. Some of these mushrooms are very happy mushrooms. They're very large. They're showing how much nutrition that they could obtain. But something else happened, which is an epiphany in my life. They sporulated. The spores attract insects. The insects laid eggs. Eggs became larvae. Birds then came bringing in seeds. And our pile became an oasis of life. Whereas the other 3 piles were dead, dark, and stinky. And the PAHs, the aromatic hydrocarbons, went from 10,000 parts per million to less than 200 in 8 weeks. The last image we don't have, the entire pile was a green berm of life. These are gateway species, vanguard species that open the door for for other biological communities. So I invented burlap sacks, bunker spawn, and putting the mycelium using storm-blown debris. You can take these burlap sacks and put them downstream from a farm that's producing E. coli or other waste, or a factory with chemical toxins, and it leads to habitat restoration. And so I came up with a Lightbox because I needed a delivery system. The Lightbox, you can be getting a DVD of the TED conference. You had soil, you had water, you have mycorrhizal and endophytic fungi, as well as spores like of the agarikon mushroom. The seeds then are mothered by this mycelium, and then you put trees, seeds in here, and then you end up growing potentially an old growth forest from a cardboard box. I want to reinvent the delivery system and the use of cardboard around the world so they become ecological footprints. If there's a YouTube-like a site that you could put up, you can make it interactive, zip code specific, where people could join together, and through satellite imaging systems, through virtual Earth or Google Earth, you could confirm carbon credits are being sequestered by the trees that are coming through light boxes. You could take a cardboard box delivering shoes, you could add water. I developed this for DARPA, for the refugee community, corns, beans, and squash and onions. I took several containers. My wife said if I could do this, anybody could. And I ended up growing a seed garden, and you harvested the seeds. And thank you, Eric Rasmussen, for your help on this. And then harvesting the seed garden, then you can harvest the kernels. And then just need a few kernels. I add mycelium to it, and then I inoculate the corn cobs. Now, 3 corn cobs, no other grain, lots of mushrooms begin to form, too many withdrawals from the carbon bank. And so this population will be shut down, but watch what happens here. The mushrooms that are harvested, but very importantly, the mycelium is converted to cellulose and to fungal sugars. And so I thought, how could we address the energy crisis in this country? And we came up with ethanol. Generating ethanol from cellulose using mycelium as an intermediary, and you gain all the benefits that I've described to you already. But to go from cellulose to ethanol is ecologically unintelligent, and I think that we need to be ecologically intelligent about the generation of fuels, so we build the carbon banks on the planet, renew the soils. These are the species that we need to join with. I think engaging mycelium can help save the world.
According to a 2005 Stanford University study, if 20% of the known potential of wind energy was harnessed, it would power all the world's needs. We already mentioned solar energy. The radiation hitting the Earth's surface is about 10,000 times the planet's usage, in fact. This issue comes down to technology, nanotechnology as we denoted. Lesser known is tidal power. As a regional example, in a recent study it has been found that 34% of all of the United Kingdom's energy could come from tidal power alone. But more effectively, as far as the ocean, is wave power, which has been found to have a global potential of 80,000 terawatt hours a year, meaning 50% of the entire planet's energy usage could come from tidal power alone. However, most effectively is geothermal energy, which, according to a recent MIT analysis, contains enough energy to meet the world's needs for the next 4,000 years. In other words, energy is nothing but abundant on this planet. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So, back to our exercise. Once this data is established, we compare the potentials to consumption and adjust accordingly. Fortunately, as we've just analyzed, we do have more than enough energy to meet our needs, so we can eliminate the least efficient sources, such as oil and everything else.